The first one, it will be about how sexual medicine, our matter, may be useful in order to deal with the non-communicable chronic diseases, which are the main reason for being sick as well to die. The second lecture I deliver, it will be something very practical on how to, I think that I need the pointer. Good, excellent. Thank you very much, very kind indeed. The second part will be also very practical for young people, not for the professors, but just for the students, regarding how to improve our ability to write scientific articles, which are the common mistakes that can be present when writing articles and scientific articles too. So let's try to start with the first lecture, when sexual medicine is to be considered how a wonderful main mechanism, a wonderful instrument in order to face the communicable as well non-communicable chronic diseases. Again, this is the link between my new university, the Hanoi Medical University, as well the University of Tor Vergata in Rome, where I am teaching, and the link between our countries. The name of my department is System Medicine Department. It is the unique department in the world having this title. And this is very interesting and also very new, because the system medicine is a term which is recently considered important, and it is dealing as an interdisciplinary, and this word is very important, interdisciplinary field of study, looking at the systems of the human body. System means something, a particular issue, a particular condition, which are integrated. So it is an holistic perspective, an integrated whole, which are incorporating genetics, biochemistry, physiological, psychological, political, and environmental and cultural issues. So it is a perspective absolutely new, considering all those things. In fact, you may be familiar with other names, like personalized medicine. The personalized medicine, when you are dealing not with a disease or a symptom, but with a patient. And when you try to personalize it. Also, now we are discussing about the precision medicine. And precision medicine means that, for example, you are tailoring your therapy on the basis of the genetic pattern of a patient. So this is the personalized, the precision medicine. So also it is quite famous, the so-called P4 medicine. P4 medicine is when you are attempting to predict, to prevent, to participate, and also to anticipate diseases and so on. But at the end of the story, what is encompassing everything is the system medicine, this new way to integrate all those things. So we do have different names, different terms for similar aims. All the aims of this kind of medicine is to establish a new, which means more personalized, more precise, more systematic. That's the reason why we said system medicine, approach in medicine, putting together finding from different origins, different sources, which are, as I said, considering the environment, the political choices, which are tremendously important for the health of population, the economy, the presence of pollution, the conventional patient data, the clinical pathological parameters, the molecules and the genes, as well the data generated by additional new omics technologies. It is clear that this effort requires a team of investigators dealing with different cultures, with different cultural sciences, with a different environment, different origin, combining the expertise of different disciplines and different cultures. So for a department of sexual medicine, for example, it will be very important to have collaboration and presence of psychiatrists, of endocrinologists, of gynecologists, and so on, as well, of course, surgeons, urologists, and andrologists. So that is system medicine. Typically, system medicine is the part of medicine which is dealing with the main reason for being sick, to have a disease and to die, which is in several parts of the world, the epidemic of NCD, non-communicable chronic diseases. There are a lot of scientific interest in NCD. This slides is considering a kind of a countdown from 2020 to 2030, and it is an article very interesting written in Lancet, trying to understand which is the future of different age groups of the presence of non-communicable chronic disease in the near future. So there is a new program that is called the Sustainable Developmental Goal Target to reduce of 1/3 the premature mortality in people from 30 to 70 from the major non-communicable chronic disease, the 4 major non-communicable chronic diseases. And this is the percentage of all possible cause of death reduction scenarios that could be achieved with this. As you can see, our countries have the same color of this ability to reduce a non-communicable chronic disease. Who knows sexual medicine also knows that a typical model has been used so far. It is called biopsychosocial model. What means biopsychosocial model? BPS, biopsychosocial. It means that there is an integration of cultures, competencies, experiences, and so on, coming from the biology, from the psychology and psychiatry, as well from the society. And this biopsychosocial model is really important, but it is something which is before system medicine. System medicine is in fact more complex, and in fact it is like considering the journey from the general quality of life to the sexual quality of life, which is our final target in this department. And if you wanted to look to search a gold standard measurement for the practical application of this, we can say that the traditional biopsychosocial model, which is very frequently considered, is dealing with the quality of life, while the new system medicine is dealing with the sexual quality of life. And having a sexual quality of life as a therapeutical goal will dramatically improve the general quality of life. In other words, if the patient is sexually healthy, If the couple is sexually healthy, his or her general quality of life will improve dramatically. And also, the sexual quality of life being based on the quality of the couple, of the marital intercourse, and not just on the quantity, as erectile dysfunction is, as we said many times this morning. This could be considered a paradigm for the sexual quality of life in the light of the sexual system medicine, like premature ejaculation is, as we demonstrated many times this morning. So I wrote this review article in Sexual Medicine Review a few years ago. That article is playing with these two terms. SM means or equals SM. The first SM means system medicine. The second SM means sexual medicine. So in other words, the article is proposing that interfacing system medicine and sexual medicine is a wonderful way to face the non-communicable chronic diseases epidemic into a gender-dependent perspective. Have a look on this tree. Have a look on this very bad grass, where this bad tree is growing. That grass is the grass of non-communicable chronic diseases. There is one cause which you cannot modify, unfortunately, which is age. And this is my problem, not your problem, because you are young. But this cannot be modified. On the contrary, there are several factors which can be modified. And the bad grass where the bad tree is growing is the cardiovascular diseases family, is the oncological family, is the metabolic like diabetes family, as well the respiratory disease. All four are the non-communicable chronic disease. All four are the main reason for being sick and for dying. But that bad tree of non-communicable chronic disease is also the bad tree of erectile dysfunction. The same, exactly the same four families of diseases, the cardiovascular one, the oncological one, the metabolic one, and the pulmonary one are all causes of erectile dysfunction. So erectile dysfunction, it equals exactly, is sharing exactly the same causes of non-communicable chronic disease, all related to lifestyle, like unhealthy diet, which is not such a big problem here in Vietnam because the food is so nice and very healthy, the excess of alcohol, the physical inactivity, and the tobacco use. All are causes of both ED and the non-communicable chronic diseases. These are the pathophysiological causes of erectile dysfunction. As you can see, in reality, the majority of them are non-communicable chronic diseases. The cardiovascular, neurogenic, the peripheral causes, the hormonal one, the mixed pathway, the drug-induced are all related to the pathophysiology of erectile dysfunction, as well of the non-communicable chronic disease. There is another concept, very new and very interesting. It is called DOHAD, which means developmental origin of health and disease. What means developmental origin of health and disease? It means that the non-communicable chronic disease are coming from an origin, are coming from a behavior, are coming from something which is developed, and where the economical, the sociological, the psychological, as well as the biological determinants are tremendously important. For example, genetics and gender. You cannot modify genes and gender, but they impact on the presence of non-communicable chronic disease as well as of sexual dysfunction. As well as the epigenetic and pollution. This is modifiable. If we ameliorate our policy regarding the pollution, of course, we will face less non-communicable chronic diseases. But also the welfare, the economical crisis, all are acting on it. But what we may modify as a doctor is related to the culture and to the lifestyle. And this is definitely impacting in this cartoon where there is fertility, where there is sexuality, metabolic and cardiovascular diseases, neurodegeneration, cancer, or other systemic diseases, producing the epidemics of non-communicable chronic disease, and three things: quality of life, sexual quality of life, and finally, the same survival of the patient. The WHO, the World Health Organization, called for a reduction in 25, so in 2 years now, from now, 2-3 years now, to reduce by 25% the prevalence of non-communicable chronic disease. I am definitely sure that this goal will be not reached. It is not enough time to educate the population regarding the lifestyle, but we have a tool to do it. We have a tool to reduce really the prevalence, the incidence, and the risk linked to the non-communicable chronic disease. And which tool is sexual medicine. Considering the sexual health as a very important issue, mostly for the young population, for the young people, is a wonderful tool to motivate the patient to change the lifestyle. For example, being very simple, I know very well that if I am telling to a young people, 25, 30 years old, you don't have to smoke, because if you smoke, you die, he will not listen to me. He will not trust me. He will be not interested on this true sentence. But if I tell him, don't smoke, because you will be impotent, oh no, in this case, he will listen to me. He will be very much motivated. It will be really sustained into the decision to change the lifestyle. So the idea is to use sexual medicine as a powerful tool in order to improve the compliance of the patients about your suggestions related to the lifestyle. So for this reason, in my mind, sexual medicine is something which is in the center of a lot of disciplines like my own, endocrinology and metabolism, as well psychiatry, neurology, angiology, oncology, immunology, transmitted diseases, and in particular sexually transmitted diseases, hepatology, nephrology, and pneumology, pharmacology, sociology, psychology, so everything is there. And this is the system sexual medicine I am looking forward, I'm trying to build, because sexual and reproductive health should be considered as the first issue to be considered when facing the epidemics of non-communicable chronic disease. But I wanted to demonstrate it with the data, with evidences. Do you know the story of the canary in the mine? Probably not. So in Europe, in the coal mines, the people working there were carrying a canary, the little animal, for the reason why the canary is dying when there is a spill of poison gas into the mine. So the canary in the mine, it means something which is telling something which will happen in the future. The canary, that is the original cage for the canaries with oxygen. So when the people, the workers in the mine saw the canary dying, they said, okay, there is a poison, there is a risk, let's go ahead. Let's escape for the spilling of the gas. So we have a canary in our mine, and which one is that canary? Can we consider erectile dysfunction as a marker of cardiovascular diseases, one of the main non-communicable chronic disease? Definitely yes, my friends. Definitely yes, because of the size and the architecture of the vessels. This is the diameter of the vessels going to the penis. This one is the diameter of the coronary, the vessels going to the heart, to the brain, to the legs. What does it mean, how the diameter and the geometry is so important? It means that the same amount of arteriosclerosis is impacting into a completely different way into the different vessels. Of course, here will be much earlier the clinical impact. And having the same obstruction of the lumen here means impotence, but not infarction here, much later, not ictus here, much later, not claudicatio intermittens, intermittent claudication in here in the femoral artery. In other words, we can predict a major cardiovascular event in patients with vascular erectile dysfunction 10 years before. If there is impotence, vascular impotence in a patient for vascular reasons, you can say to the patient, you will die in 10 years for a major cardiovascular event if you don't change your lifestyle. And no one biological marker is so powerful than erectile dysfunction in order to predict it because of this very particular geometry I'm showing you. But there is something else, which is the COVID situation. COVID is a communicable disease. It's not a non-communicable disease. However, there is a strong link. In fact, we know very well that the presence of non-communicable chronic disease, for example, aging, for example, diabetes, for example, cancer, all those are reasons for having COVID more frequently, having severe COVID more frequently, to die for COVID more frequently, and to have more frequently long COVID. So all these things which are related to communicable acute disease are very much related to non-communicable chronic disease, where the lifestyle is definitely important. And this is an article I published with my co-workers demonstrating that COVID and the lockdown may have a huge and dramatic psychological impact in the couples. As well, we demonstrate and we publish in Andrology that there is a correlation, an association between ED and COVID-19. In other words, impotent people are more prone to the risk of COVID. And the reason is not because there is a correlation between the virus and the impotence, not at all, but because there is a correlation between ED, non-communicable chronic disease, and COVID. So in other words, since ED and NCD are sharing the same risk factors, we can predict that there is such a huge link between the two. And it is interesting the fact that this article has been awarded as the best COVID-19 research paper in 2021, the last year. And I'm very proud of this award to our article. But also, I had the possibility and the honor to write this article together with my friends here in Hanoi Medical University, Dr. Bach, and their his co-workers, regarding the so-called, what we call the sexual long COVID, where ED can be considered a perfect biomarker of systemic, again, system medicine, systemic complication for the survival to long COVID. And here we are in Halong Bay celebrating our first meeting several years ago, 3 years ago. You know, long COVID is a very important problem. We have a lot of patients who are complaining for this post-acute or chronic disease. We don't know so much about it yet, but we know that it is developing as a longer term, as a multi-organ complication after recovery or apparent recovering from the COVID-19. Again, which is the main risk factor for having long COVID? Age, for sure, but also all the things related to the lifestyle, which are the same for the non-communicable chronic diseases. Dyspnea, fatigue, anxiety are between the main complaints of the survival from COVID, and there are more issues to be considered, to be taken into account during this. It is interesting that the people dealing with a long COVID, they did not consider so far sexual issue, sexual symptom as a main factor as we did. But in this cartoon, it's clearly shown that the infection, acute, as well the complex, complicated long COVID situation is producing a lot of neuropsychiatric, cardiovascular, pulmonary, endocrine complication, all producing pathological condition like the side effects of the treatments, the post-traumatic stress disorder, also very important, psychiatrically speaking, and vulnerability or socioeconomic vulnerability, which are multiple factors leading to increased risk of developing erectile dysfunction. So that is the flow that we imagined. The flow here highlights the relationship between the lifestyle, again, non-communicable chronic disease, COVID-19 infection, long COVID, sexual long COVID in particular. A communicable disease like COVID exacerbated by the main causes of sexual dysfunction, such as non-communicable chronic diseases. So I said that traditionally, the biopsychosocial model has been largely used in sexual medicine, in psychosexology too, and I like it very much. But I do think that this is definitely not the unique way to deal with. And our idea, again, is to improve the biopsychosocial model, having a system sexology, a system sexual medicine, dealing with the human body as a part of an integrated whole, which are incorporating genes, epigenetics, the biochemical issues, the physiological, but also behavioral, socio-cultural, political, economical, and environmental interaction. Sexual system medicine is a new integrated approach to one of the major challenges in the current era, which is the non-communicable chronic disease epidemic. So the cartoon here is trying to put together the systems of the mind together with the system of the experience, our history, the history of the patients, the system of the society where we are, which is tremendously impacting into the development of the diseases, the system of the body as doctor we are always dealing with. And altogether, this is producing the system sexology or system sexual medicine, where there is an integration of psychology, psychiatry, psychosexology, an integration of biology, internal medicine, endocrinology, and neurology, an integration with the political, sociological, economical issues, tremendously impacting into the health. As well, we have to consider other issues, very important, like the culture, like the religion, like the education, like the history. All those things may affect the development of non-communicable chronic disease, may affect the development of sexual disease, of sexual symptoms too. So that's the reason why I think it's very modern, it's very smart, it's very clever to think about a system sexual medicine or system sexology as a new instrument. So this is my email, of course, if you need to communicate with me. And now I'm ready for your questions after this first part.